Good evening, everyone, and welcome. We are studying chapter 46, a short introduction to what we have been studying. This chapter, the rabbi wants to share with us that there is an easy way to awaken love towards God, and that is, we call it reflection. When we ponder upon God's kindness, and the comparison is not just a stranger that stretched a hand to assist, but the King of all kings, he himself, without sending a messenger, goes down to a dunghill where a person is finding themselves. He removes them, not only releases them from that peril, but also takes them into his palace, gives them access to his chamber, and says to them, you can have access to the kitchen, to the bedroom, anytime you want. If you want something, you just come and enjoy. How appreciative the person will be. God took us out of Egypt, which was a dunghill. And he took us himself, not by angel, not by messenger, and he gave us the treasure called Torah. And therefore, we must be extremely appreciative. Not only that, he promised us the Holy Land. That's the start of the Rebbe until now. And the Rebbe went on to explain that God embraces us on different level. On one hand, whenever we perform a mitzvah, it's considered like he's giving us a hug. The right, the left are two arms, and the torso is the body. Together, God is giving us a hug every time we perform a mitzvah. So when I study, when I pray, when I keep Shabbat, when I keep kosher, when I celebrate holidays, God is giving us a hug. He's hugging us. When we study Torah, it's considered like a kiss because it's mouth to mouth, because we put our head into the connection, and therefore it's a much closer and more intense type of expression of love. This is what the rabbi spoke about until now. The rabbi, if we are able to finish the chapter, there are two main themes the rabbi is going to talk about. One is about the idea of sanctification, and the other is, what if I don't feel it? Let's talk about the first one because that's the first section that hopefully we'll cover for sure. We all know that before you consume anything, you must recite a blessing. Before we serve God, checking for chametz in the house, we say a blessing. Eating matzah, separate and extra blessing. Drinking 4 cups of wine, 4 times we say, Borei Pri Hagaf, and thanking God for the wine. Every time you celebrate, Shabbat comes in, Kiddush. Shabbat goes out, Avdallah. We always say blessings. The blessings are actually a bad translation for the prayer, the short prayer we say. The word is bracha. Bracha is connection. Establishing a connection is bracha. Connecting with God through those prayers. As part of the blessing is a word called kiddushanu, kadosh. So usually the word kadosh or asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav, the usual translation is sanctified us. What does sanctified us means?
Separated.
Made us separated us? Okay. Anybody else? Made us holy, because the word kadosh is holy. Thank you. So in the marriage, betrothal is called kiddushin. There is attracted kiddushin. That attracted in Talmud deals with marriage called kiddushin. Betrothal. What does betrothal means? So when a man marries before the actual chuppah, where they become one, because God created us male and female, 2 halves, and when we unite, we become one. Betrothal is when the husband, the man, tells the wife, gives her a object in the value of a minimum of pruta, which is a small coin, and he says, "Arei at mekudeshet li," you are mekudash to me. And now she and he are both betrothed, so therefore they are not allowed to go with other men or the other persons, and they are united. Are they allowed to be intimate and live alone together by themselves? No. we have to have the marriage, chuppah. Without the marriage, it's not complete. But Kiddushin is the first step and the most crucial step. In fact, after Kiddushin, if they go both ways, they have to have a get. So even though you can call it a limbo, I don't call it a limbo because it's a process. There are two-step process. Kiddushin, betrothal, and then marriage, nisuin. However, the most crucial one, the one that makes them a unit, is the Kiddushin, the first part. So far, so good. The Gemara tells us, is speaking about the word Kiddushin, Arayat Mekudeshet. You are Mekudash to me. Kiddushin has two different meanings, but they are both combined and they complement one another. And the ideas that were brought up here are very similar. One way to say Mekudash means elevated. You are elevated to me, meaning you are making me complete. That's the idea of Kiddushin. Until now, I said publicly, Arei at mekudeshet li, meaning now you are become kadosh, holy. What is holy? Holy as opposed to mundane. Holier is elevated. When we betroth the girl, or the girl is getting betrothed to the husband, to the man, they are elevated. The status is being elevated because now they become complete. On the other hand, the other meaning to mekudash or kiddushin is separation. Separated from the rest of humanity. In other words, this man is separated from all other persons. This woman is separated from all other men. They are not allowed to be intimate with anyone except this person. So the idea of kiddushin is both the positive, elevated, which is unique, but also separated from the rest. Is that clear? A similar idea I spoke on the holiday of Shavuot. I'm not going to repeat. When God gave us the Torah, the Ten Commandments, there is one commandment that is recorded, all the Ten Commandments are recorded in the Torah twice. In the book of Exodus and in the book of Deuteronomy, in all other 9, the same text appear except for Shabbat. In one place, in the first time, it says, Zachor et Yom HaShabbat, remember the Shabbat. And the second time, it says, Shamor et Yom HaShabbat, guard the Shabbat. The rabbis explain us, without getting into what I shared on Shavuot, Zachor is a positive, good food, nice clothing, celebrate with family and friends, social. Don't look at the clock all the time. Enjoy the day. Shamor, guard, don't talk about mundane activities. Don't do business. Don't do commerce. Don't violate Shabbat with labor. In other words, you have Shabbat. What do we call Shabbat? The holy day. Shabbat Kodesh. Good Shabbat Kodesh. The holy Shabbat, the holiness of Shabbat is expressed in two ways. One, we are elevated through that day by the activities we do, food, dress, social, all that must be elevated. And also it refers to stay away from mundane, stay away from other activities, commerce, going out to the movies, going out for dinner. This is not in accordance with Shabbat. It violates the Shabbat. Says the Rebbe, when we say God has sanctified us, Asher Kideshanu, this is the topic the Rabbi is going to talk about. Asher Kideshanu b'mitzvotav, that He Kidesh us in His mitzvot. It means that by giving us the mitzvot, He did two things. The first part is He elevated us to unite with Him. And that part the Rabbi is going to talk about later. Again, the Rabbi is going to talk about what happens to people who don't feel that connection. But that would be the second part. First part, the Rabbi is going to talk about that when we're about to perform a mitzvah, the study of Torah, prayer, celebrating the holiday, we say a blessing, Asher Kideshanu b'mitzvotav. We say to God, thank you for enabling us to be elevated and become complete with God as our partner. God is our spouse. But on the other hand, kidshanu also refers to that we have separated ourselves from the rest of the world. Because when I celebrate Shabbat, when I give tzedakah, when I keep kosher, what I've done is I've separated myself from the rest of the activities that exist in the universe. Because whatever I do, I serve God. Whatever I do is a mitzvah. And therefore, nothing else can be between me and God. What the rabbi wants to bring out is that when God took us out from Egypt, as the rabbi calls it, the dunghill, the worst place on earth, and elevated us to the highest possible place by getting us connected and be intimate with God and give us the greatest treasure called Torah, He enables us to experience it every single time we serve God. So He moved us to believe in the courtyard within the palace, and He gave us the key, He gave us the swiping card. I can walk in the kitchen, I can walk in the dining room, I can walk into the movie theater, I can walk into the golf club, I can walk into the bowling alley, I can go swimming, I can go to the private beach. I have access everywhere that's unique to the king and his immediate family, as well as me and you and every one of us. And therefore, according to Kabbalah, before we perform mitzvah, we want to remember and appreciate, so show appreciation. So we thank you, God, for sanctifying. Sanctifying is not an accurate word. Thank you, God, for kidshanu, for elevating us and bringing us into His palace and separating us from the rest of the universe. So when I play golf, I don't play golf over here locally, but I play golf at the King's Palace. When I go swimming, when I go on the beach, I have a private beach with the nicest sand, etc. Every part. The fact that we may not, I don't know about everybody here, but me, most of the times I don't feel that way, and that would be the second part of the Rebbe's talk. But right now, that's the idea of kiddushanu. In other words, all that is to meditate about, so that it should bring us into appreciating God and connecting to God when we perform a mitzvah with love and fear. Because when I say Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, I say, God, you have elevated me, completed me like a husband and a wife are completed and are betrothed when they are betrothed to one another. So did you, and continuously you allow me to enjoy that connection. In that way, we are unique. We are not one unit yet. Marriage will make us one body. The intimacy of a husband and wife, which is the closest uniting phenomena within humanity, does not get happening yet. That is when someone gets married. And until they are married, they're not allowed to be secluded in the room. And the marriage is the actual coming of Mashiach. And it's evident in the prophets. They talk about Mashiach, that I will take, you won't tell me anymore, you are my bride, but you'll tell me you are my wife, my spouse. In other words, the actual marriage is achieved when we are reaching the point of Mashiach. Until then, we are betrothed to God. But that itself is great. That's why, Asher kiddushanu, we say, God, you made us kadosh. Not just the idea of holy, which is mundane, which is simple. The idea is that we have been united and complete with our very existence and elevated to be unique from the rest of humanity. Now let's see it in the text, page 709. Again, as I mentioned, the second part today, if we get to, we're going to talk about what happens if I don't feel that uniting with God. What if I don't sense godliness in me?
But we can't till the Messiah comes, right?
What?
Well, I mean, we can connect, but we don't have that total connection to Mashiach.
The marriage, that's what, it's betrothal. Marriage will be achieved only when Mashiach will come, when we will be completely intimate with God.
So we'll never really feel that total intimacy.
No, it's true.
Right?
Yeah. Until Mashiach. So why we want Mashiach now? Because we want to get married already. That's why the Rabbi is going to talk about Song of Songs is all about a love between the betrothed bride and bridegroom, not husband and wife, if you pay attention. Because the husband and wife, their love is on a whole different level because they can be intimate. When they are still betrothed, their love is a fiery, burning, consuming, but they know their limitation. There are limitations. Marriage is a complete unity, and that takes it on a whole different plane. We are on page 709, 709. This is, I'm starting to read. This is the meaning of the text of the various blessings pronounced before one fulfills a mitzvah. Before one fulfills a mitzvah, we say, "Blessed be He, Elokeinu melech haolam, God, King of the universe, who has betrothed us by His commandments." So the betrothal is achieved every time we do a mitzvah. The Hebrew word kidshanu, generally rendered "who has sanctified us," is here rendered "who has betrothed us," from the Hebrew word kiddushin, betrothal. For mitzvot too are like a man who betrothed his wife, so that she be united with him in a perfect bond, as it is written, "And he shall cleave to his wife, and they shall be one flesh." Exactly similar to the unity achieved through betrothal, and even infinitely surpassing it, is the union of the divine soul that is engaged in Torah and the commandments, and of the vivifying soul and the garments referred to above. These are the thought, speech, and action, all of them becoming united with the light of the blessed Ein Sof. So when I do a mitzvah, my thought, speech, and action are actually getting betrothed to the Ein Sof, to God Himself. This spiritual union infinitely surpasses the physical union of a man and wife. The correlation to a physical union is valid only in the sense that in this world there can be no greater union than that of man and wife. This union is termed kiddushin. The actual union between the neshama and God is a much, much greater bond. But the closest to the perfect bond that can be described in this physical universe is a husband and wife. That's why we use kiddushin. That's why when we say the verse, the blessings, thanking God, we use asher kiddeshanu. In other words, it does not describe in truth the kind of unity that's achieved between the soul and the Ein Sof, but it's the closest. You won't find anything closer than that, and therefore that's the only example being used. Therefore did Solomon, peace unto him, in the Song of Songs, compared this union of God and Jews through Torah and mitzvot with the union of a bridegroom and bride. This union being with attachment, an external level of unity, with longing, a more inward level of unity, and desire, an even more inward level of unity, with embrace and kissing. When someone is betrothed to another person, they want a hug, love, kiss. In every aspect of their life, they want a bond. That's what happens to the neshama when he's performing a mitzvot. And that's why before we do the mitzvah, we are reminded of that. All the above manners of union are found in the Jew's relationship to God through Torah and mitzvot. Until now, the Alter Rebbe expounded on the theme of unity, understanding kiddushin as deriving from kiddushin, betrothal. The Alter Rebbe now goes on to say that the word kiddeshanu also alludes to the sanctification a Jew achieves through Torah and mitzvot, sanctification implying a state of exaltation and separation from all worlds. Remember I told you, like Shabbat, Zachor, and Shamor, Kideshanu, until now we talked about the bond, the unit We become complete. We are elevated to being a complete human being when we get betrothed. Now the Rabbi is going to talk about being separated from the rest of the universe. This is also the meaning of the blessings alluded to above, who has sanctified us by his commandment. The verb kidshanu, who has sanctified us here, meaning that he has elevated us to the heights of the supreme holiness, which is the holiness of the Holy One, blessed be himself. In other words, when God gave us a mitzvah, he says, eat kosher, bring a guest over to the house, celebrate Shabbat. By doing so, we allow the soul to elevate, and the rest of the universe stay in the same spot, and the soul elevates and higher to God. That he has elevated us to the heights of the supreme holiness, which is the holiness of the Holy One, blessed be he himself. Kedusha, holiness, is a term indicating separateness, in that the Holy One, blessed be he, is apart from the worlds. So when I do a mitzvah, what do? I create a wall, a firewall between me and the rest of the universe, because right now I'm with God. I am elevated and I am separate from the rest of the universe. This being the quality of encompassing all worlds, Sovev, being unable to clothe himself within them. We talked about Memala and Sovev. Sovev is the level of God, all-encompassing, that cannot enter the universes, it's all-encompassing outside. When I do a mitzvah, I connect to the Sovev, to that level of godliness. Because of the inability of created beings to absorb the extreme holiness of this transcendent level, God, as it were, cannot enclose himself within the worlds, and therefore affects them in an encompassing manner, external, outside. It is to this lofty level that Jews are elevated through the performance of mitzvot. So everybody is connected to God. Memale, the lowest level. We study Memale so many times. Soivev is the other one that's all-encompassing. When I do a mitzvah like we do now, study Torah, our soul connects to the Sovev. So if I want to reach out to God, I don't need to ask someone to pray for me. I don't need someone to study Torah. I need to do a mitzvah. When I'm involved with a mitzvah, I say, God, now I'm closer to you. I need health. I need finances. I need family. I need whatever it is that I need. This is a direct, non-biased, without any breaks, any stops. God connects us to God directly. Do a mitzvah, connect to God. You connect to God of Sovev, not Memara. Assuming we do the mitzvah properly. If I do it for ulterior motive, etc., then it's not the same. There is no connection there. There is no good connection there. So we might discuss soon. Ali, do you understand? Okay. Sure.
Talking about the mitzvah, we're not talking about Torah, which is a closer connection, or the study of Torah.
The study of Torah is a mitzvah.
Okay.
So it connects through Sovev just like every mitzvah. That's why when we start the day, at page 5, we say a lot of blessings. Opening up my eyes, giving me shoes. 3 blessings for thanking God for giving us the Torah. Asher kidshanu v'natan lanu et Torato. So then we thank God and the sanctification that Torah, study of Torah, gives us. So when we study Torah, we connect to Sovev. If I do a mitzvah, any mitzvah, I connect to God on the level of Sovev. So I just want you to... Some do better than others in every aspect, in the performance of mitzvot as well. Some people put all their energy and they are very fervent about doing a mitzvah. For example, I know somebody who is in love with assisting people who get coffee in the morning, making sure it's early in the morning, making sure there is hot water and there is fresh coffee. They have the pleasure of doing a mitzvah of gmilus chasodim, of being act of kindness. So that means when they're involved in making coffee, they do connect to God on the level of soiver.
That is good as
Huh?
Not as good.
As good, as good. I just want to share that the Rebbe's wife, when they escaped Russia, and they saw how the Sochnut, the agency representative from the Zionist movement in Israel, was assisting Jews to leave Europe, Eastern Europe, into Europe, and then to Israel, literally saving lives. No exaggeration, saving lives, because those who remained in Russia, their life was on the line. Being Jewish, they had there was no future. She said, I have never thought I can see righteous men who do not put on tefillin every day. Now, I'm not here, she's not there to say it's not valuable to put on tefillin, God forbid. The idea is to increase. But the very fact people who were anti-religion, they were anti-religion, but they put their life to save another Jew. She said, I saw righteous men, even though they don't put on tefillin. Because you connect to God through every mitzvah. God gave us all the mitzvot, and therefore we need to try all of them. We cannot just say, okay, it's good enough for me. One is enough a day. I just want to go back to our discussion here because Rabbi is going to talk about other things. So the idea of kiddushin is two. One, make me complete and elevated. Two, separating me from the rest. When I do a mitzvah, I say, Asher kiddushanu, I thank you, God, for kiddushanu. Kiddushanu means making me complete and elevate me, complete being betrothed to God and elevating me to God. Another understanding of kiddushin, kiddushanu is separated me from the universe. Why? Because God allows us to elevate and connect to the level of God that the rest of the world is not connected with. We call it soivev, the all-encompassing godliness that does not penetrate the universe.
So Kiddushanu has two meanings, to elevate the separate.
What?
Kiddushanu has two.
Kiddushanu, both of them in the same, yes. And that will help. I cannot hold from talking about. We're going to get to it immediately. Every morning, I'm surprised people don't ask this question. Only when you say Kabbalah, questions come. Every morning in the Amidah, in the afternoon and evening, we say Elokeinu ve'Elokei Avotenu, right? Our God, Elokeinu, our God, and the God of our fathers. How many gods there are? One. Is it my God and not God, my forefathers' God? Is it my forefather God and not my God? How can we say Elokeinu ve'Elokei Avotenu? Elokeinu ve'Avotenu, our God and our fathers.
Because our God can be as good as, we can have the level of our God the same as the forefather.
Huh?
Because we can.
So did you understand the question?
Yeah.
First, I need to make sure. Ali, do you understand the question? When you say Elokeinu ve'Elokei Avotenu, it sounds like there are two entities. There is one God that's our, and there is a God of our forefathers. But after all, it's the same God. If it's the same God, it should say Elokei Avotenu ve'Elokeinu. And the Rabbi, what, Ali, did you try to explain?
Our God, from our standpoint, we can raise ourselves to that level of intimacy with God, the same as our forefathers.
Okay, so you're close to the way the Rabbi explained.
Have a section, you say God is greater than all the other gods, that it means other gods.
Right, but here you say our God and the God of our fathers.
We have a unique relationship to God.
Okay,
Each of us, like
so why are you separating it from the God of our fathers? It's the same God of our fathers is our God. If you say, and the God of idols, I understand. It's something we don't want anything to do with. But we are about to pray and thank our God, Baruch Atah, Hashem Elokeinu ve'Elokei Avotenu, our God, not Elokim, and the God of our fathers. By the way, there is another thing. Elokim, it's one of God's 7 names, is the only one that can be changed to plural, to singular, to the past tense, to future. Elokei Avraham, God of Abraham. Elokei Yitzchak. You can say Elokah, Elokah is a verb, God. Elokim is plural. Yud mem at the end. Tzadik, tzadikim.
Okay, it's awesome.
Elokeh is not just plural, it's God of. But it's God of. The other names don't have that.
Elohim, Shel, Avotem.
Elokeh is Elokim Shel.
So it's still Elohim.
Right, it's plural. But there is Elokah. It's singular. And Elokeichem, your God. Hashem Elokeichem emet. Chem is you. Lachem, to you. Huh? Okay, you're stuck with plural. I'm talking about you versus me. I'm talking about singular versus plural. Forget about singular and plural. That already covered. Now we're moving on. Havaya Adoshem, all other, Shalom is one of God's names. Shin Daled Yud, there is no plural. There is no past. There is no God of. It's all this, it's one. It's a verb, right? It's a verb.
We have 7 names.
7. Why Elokeinu, Elokeichem, Elokah, Elokei? This name, because it's Memale. It refers to Memale, the God that created the universe. And therefore, it relates to each person in a different way. And that's what Ali is talking about. So our Father's relationship with that God was so unique that it was different than our relationship to that God. It's the same God. But imagine I have a cup and they have a 5-gallon bucket. So they had lots of water, I had little water. Are they the same? Yes, they come from the same and they're still connected to the same. But my relationship is based on my receptacle, and it's much different. Havaya, all the other names, Sovev and the other names are all the same to everyone equally. Why is it important? Is because when I do a mitzvah, I connect to a Sovev. Sovev is all-encompassing. So the relationship between Abraham and God versus me or Moshe, there is no difference in Sovev, only in Memale. Did you understand that? Okay. Let's continue. We are page 711. For though the union of the soul with and its absorption into the light of the Ein Sof attains the quality and the degree of holiness of the blessed Ein Sof himself, since it unites itself with him and is integrated into him, and they become truly one. This is the meaning of the verse. And you shall be holy unto me, for I, the Lord, am holy. The verse gives, it's in the Parsha of Kedoshim, I believe. The verse gives us the reason for the Jews' sanctity, connecting it with God's supreme holiness, which Jews can attain through Torah and mitzvot. And I have separated you from other people that you should be mine. Here we see that holiness implies separation, as mentioned earlier. God says, I separated you from all the nations, and therefore be holy to me. Anybody is familiar with this verse? In the end of portion of Emor, before Kedoshim. Va'avdil etchem min ha'amim liyot li. I separated you from the nations to be my. V'item li kedoshim, and be kadosh to me, ki kadosh ani, because I'm holy. In other words, the idea of kedoshim or kiddushanu is not just elevated or united with God, but also separated from the rest of the world. In terms of godliness, Memale fills in the entire universe, each one according to their level. Sovev is all-encompassing. When I do a mitzvah, I connect with Sovev. So I'm separated from the rest of the universe. Another verse states, and we say it, I believe it's in this week's Torah portion or next week's Torah portion, you shall fulfill all my commandments and be holy unto you, God. I am the Lord you God. The terms you God in the possessive form recalls the relationship set up when a man betroths a woman, whereby she becomes his wife. The meaning is that through the fulfillment of the commandments I become you, God, in the same manner as God is called the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and so on, called thus because the patriarchs were on the level of vehicle unto him. In other words, the patriarchs' connection to God was even in the Memala was perfect. And when we perform a mitzvah with the right intention, we connect to God and become a vehicle to God. So we connect to Sovev. The patriarchs were totally dedicated to God and nullified before him like a vehicle, literally chariot, which is totally nullified to its driver, possessing no independent will. And they were nullified and absorbed in his light. So it is with the soul of every Jew. At the time he is occupied with the Torah and the commandments, when a Jew occupies himself with Torah study and the performance of its commandments, he is totally nullified and absorbed in God's light. The only difference between the patriarchs and other Jews is that the patriarchs were in these states constantly, while other Jews attain this level only at the above-mentioned times. So the patriarchs' connection to God, the Sovev, was continuous. They were chariot, meaning totally nullified before God, and therefore at every moment of the day they were bound with Sovev. By us, I can do that when I perform a mitzvah. Therefore, the sages of blessed memory made it obligatory to rise and remain standing in the presence of anyone who is engaged in fulfilling a commandment, even if the latter is uncultured and illiterate. When such a person performs a mitzvah, such as bringing bikurim, the first fruits, to the Beit HaMikdash, one must rise before him. The Talmud tells us that when people brought the first fruit, farmers from the north, from the south, from the center, right after Shavuot was the season of Bikurim. We call it Chag HaBikurim, the holiday when people, they're harvesting, and the farmer, the trees, they bought the first fruits from the 7 species: dates, pomegranates, olives, etc. Fruits, not vegetables. And they were marching in a procession from town to town, sleep overnight in different towns, and each town will add their farmers, and then there will be a large procession coming to Jerusalem. Before they enter Jerusalem, they had balls, they painted their horns with gold. It was a long, and put doves on top of the balls. There was a lot of commotion to thank God and give it to a Kohen as a gift. The Talmud says that when they entered Jerusalem and they were marching towards the Holy Temple, every merchant, every passerby had to stand up before them. The bankers, yeshiva, anyone, whenever they saw him at the window walking by, and it might take a whole day of walking because there were thousands of people, they would stand up before them. And the reason is because that's the Gemara. They were involved in doing a mitzvah. Carrying the bikurim is a mitzvah. So the whole walk was a mitzvah. As long as someone is engaged in a mitzvah, he is connected with Sovev. So he's betrothed to God. So he's not a regular human being. He's a godly person. God is revealed within that person to a much greater level. The godliness deserves respect. In other words, it's so important. That's why when you have a groom and bride walking by, you have to stand up. When you see a procession of a funeral, you stand up, you don't sit. But why? Because the people around are busy doing a mitzvah. If they're busy doing a mitzvah, they are betrothed now to God. And therefore, the light of Sovev is all-encompassing them, and therefore they are very holy people that emanate godliness. Again, I'm going to circle back. If you want to connect to God, you don't need to go and travel to a righteous man. You don't need to do all kinds of activities, bake holidays in the shape of a key, etc. I did not do it, and the Rebbe was not a big fan of it. The Rebbe said, you have the best book, the best medicine. Open up the Torah book and study Torah. Get involved in performing mitzvot. When you do that, you turn to God and say, help me, do that for me. And you will do that, and it will happen. I just want to share. There was a non-Chassid, Rabbi Zalman Auerbach. I'm sure anybody, Zalman Aaron Auerbach. He was a ruler of Torah in Jerusalem. He passed about 10 years ago, more, about 20 years ago. He was not Chassid. He was not but he was a very holy man. One time a man, so anytime in questions about Shabbat, and like Reb Moshe Feinstein in the United States, Reb Zalman Auerbach is in Israel, in medicine, in fertility issues, the army issues, a lot of issues. He lived in Jerusalem. One man came to him, it's a very famous story. A man came to him and he says to him, I need to be blessed with children. I don't have children. I want to travel to Miron, to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and pray, because I heard that he is a very holy man to help with children. Reb Zalman Auerbach says to him, why are you traveling, spending a full day? It's a 4.5 hour drive each way to spend an hour there. You can go to Mount Herzl. There are many, many soldiers who gave up their life for sanctifying God. They are as holy, and God is there, just like in Miron. So go to outside of Jerusalem in our Herzl, Mount Herzl, stand next to the soldier who gave up their life and were not able to start a family and to produce. Pray over there. It's maybe even more, because they're martyrs, they're holy people. So the point I'm making is, you need to understand that God gave us an unbiased, direct relationship to God. When I perform a mitzvah, somebody else that see it should stand up, because I'm connected with God. I am bringing Sovev into the universe. And I also am bonding. I'm betrothed to God. I'm engaged to God. He elevated me. It's a unique bond that the rest of the universe is not privy to, and therefore it should be appreciated. That's why the Gemara, back to the discussion here, the Gemara says that the Bikurim, farmers, when they enter Yerushalayim, everybody had to stand up and remain standing while they were passing by, because they were busy doing a mitzvah. Yes, Harry.
Stand up, people carrying weights, because the people from a mitzvah, but also because of the respect of the person who passed away.
That's a funeral. Okay.
But people stand.
And marriage, when you see the groom and bride, you stand up.
Like Queen and King.
Huh? They're like the king and queen. Okay, very good.
What about the rabbi walks in the room, you're supposed to stand, right?
Yes.
So,
Well, well,
no, serious, no, so I know, right? Or is it only?
depends on the rent.
Therefore, they say, I'm not that humble, but I should say that we're going to see it, that we have to stand up before the elders or before a righteous man. Okay? Therefore, the sages of blessed memory, page 713, made it obligatory to rise and remain standing in the presence of anyone who is engaged in fulfilling a commandment, even if the latter is uncultured and illiterate. Those farmers couldn't read Hebrew. They enacted that the Kohen tells the farmer what to say, because some farmers couldn't read from the text. But it does not negate the fact that they are busy doing a mitzvah, and therefore they are connected to Soiver. When such a person performs a mitzvah, such as bringing bikurim, the first fruits, to the Beit HaMikdash, one must rise before them. This is because God dwells and clothes himself in this man's soul at such time. It is only that his soul is unconscious of this sanctity that resides within him at the time of his performance. Why? Because of the barrier of the bodily grossness within which the soul dwells, which has of yet not been refined, and which dims the eyes of the soul, preventing it from seeing divine visions. So the soul does not sense it, but the reality is that there is godliness present when a man is involved with doing a mitzvah. As experienced by the patriarchs and others of the stature who saw the world as in the spiritual world to come during their lifetimes. These great tzaddikim were able in this world to see divine visions normally seen only in the world to come. This was so because their bodies, having been purified, did not conceal godliness. Truly, each and every Jew would be capable of witnessing such vision of holiness during the performance of a mitzvah were it not for the coarseness of his body. So the body is so coarse that it hides and blinds and dims the light of the soul to sense that. Otherwise, a man would be dancing. The patriarchs had that directly sensed. This is okay, so now we're getting to what happens if one does not sense that. And this is, we're getting to the last part. There is a man called Asaph, Mizmor le'Asaph, Shir Mizmor Lamnatseach le'Asaph. There are about 9 psalms from 73 to 83 or 10 psalms that Asaph composed. He was a Levi. He was a singer in the Mishkan. There was no temple. He lived during King David's time. One of his famous psalms is 79, maybe 73. And he says the following. This is also the meaning of what Asaph said under divine inspiration on behalf of the whole community of Israel who were later to be in exile. He was prophesying, the psalm is about prophecy of exile that will be taking place hundreds of years later. But he composed the psalms speaking about what will happen in the future, even though it wasn't in his time. The barrier that conceals holiness are particularly strong during the time of exile. Concerning that time, Asaph said, "And I am foolish and know not. I was as a beast before you, yet I am continually with you." He says, I am foolish. I have no clue what's going on, but still I know I'm right next to you. Referring to the Jewish soul that is so removed that he is like an animal that has no idea what you're talking about, what your plans are. All the common sense of intelligence of a human being compared to an animal, there is no comparison. He says, before God, I'm exactly the same. So during exile, God would send messages, God would send kisses. It means nothing to the human. He says, but Asaph says, but still, I'm with you. I know one thing. I'm with you. I'm like the horse that's in the palace. So he said, I am foolish and know not. I was as a beast before you, yet I am continually with you. This means that even though I am as a beast when I'm with you, even when I perform a mitzvah and am thus united with you, I am still like a beast, my soul being unaware of and insensitive to this union achieved between my soul and God through performing a mitzvah. For were I to be aware and sensitive, my soul would be affected in a manner which should bring down upon it fear and awe first, followed by a great and pleasurable love that experiences delights. A love wherein the soul delights in godliness, or a love like fiery flames of ardent longing for godliness. He says, I'm like a beast, I have no idea what's going on. Because if I had an idea, I would have great fear of God and immediately rejoice with love, with joy, that I'm loved and embraced by God. But that doesn't happen. Still, I'm with you. I know one thing. When I perform a mitzvah, there is a betrothal that takes place between me and God. like the quality of the tzaddikim whose corporeality has been refined. When tzaddikim perform a mitzvah, they actually feel how it unifies their soul with God. This in turn awakens within their soul a feeling of fear and awe of God, followed by a feeling of intense love of Him. This, of course, is not the case with these who feel not. So far you understand what we're talking about? So the fact that I don't feel it, don't take it away. I'm still with God, I'm still elevated, I'm still expressed or bonded with Sovev. For as is known, the term da'at connotes a sensitivity of the soul, and this is comprised of chesed and gevura. When I have full knowledge, it will affect my emotions. But if I have no knowledge, there is no love, there is no fear. Chesed gives rise to love and gevura to fear. Only when one possesses the attribute of that and spiritual sensitivity will one experience the kinds of love and fear of God described above. So what happens if I don't have that da'at, no knowledge, because I'm ba'ar and I don't know, I have no knowledge of God? I do not have love and fear for God because I don't experience that. Nevertheless, I am continually with you, for the corporeality of the body does not prevent the union of the soul with the light of the blessed Ein Sof who fills the whole world. The fact that I have no idea about what's going on and what's being achieved does not take away from the established connection that exists there. Corporeality can only prevent the soul from being conscious of its unity with God, inasmuch as it hinders the revelation and awareness of the unity accomplished during the performance of a mitzvah. It cannot, however, hinder the actual unity objectively affected. As it is written, even darkness cannot obscure you. Now the Rabbi is going to go and prove that point. Says the Rabbi the following. Imagine someone study all the law about Passover and all the requirements and all the reasons, and then he refuses to eat matzah and he eats leavened bread on Passover, God forbid. Then you have another person who is raised in a home, they never had Passover for whatever reason, and during Passover he eats bread. Which one deserves bigger punishment? The first or the second? Why? Because he knew and still he sinned. The rule is that both are treated equally. Very strange. The same is Shabbat, Passover. The sin is treated equally. There are exceptions. That says that God is medakdek. God is very careful with the righteous, like a hair. That's why for Moshe, what he did was much worse than if a normal human being. But that's not the discussion here. And the reason is, what happens when I perform a mitzvah? I bond with Sovev. I bring holiness to the universe. If I ate chametz, I remove that Sovev potential. So it doesn't matter if I knew or not, the effect was equally the same. And that's what the Rabbi says, V'ani bar velo eda be'emot ha'iti imach. I am bar. Bar is, I'm a beast, and I'm like an animal compared to a human, but I am still in your chamber. I'm still there. And therefore, when we have an opportunity to do a mitzvah and we did not, the impact, the negative impact is equally the same. If I knew what I'm doing or I didn't. Here is the Rabbi. We are on the bottom of page 716. Accordingly, since, as above, every Jew who performs a mitzvah is granted the unity and sanctity of supreme holiness, even when he does not perceive it, as does a tzaddik, one will be able to understand the severity of the punishment for transgressing the prohibition of work on Shabbat, or that of leavened bread and Passover, which equally apply to all. The punishment is to all, no matter if I did it if I knew exactly what Passover and why, it doesn't matter. The transgression is considered or treated equally by all. The very same severe punishment applies equally to the loftiest tzaddik and to the coarsest boor, where either of them haven't forfend to transgress one of the above-mentioned prohibitions. And the reason, for even in the soul of an uncultured and completely illiterate person shines the light of the sanctity of Shabbat or festivals. Hence, hence he faces capital punishment by karet for eating leavened bread at Passover, and stoning for doing a prohibited form of labor on Shabbat, for the profanation of this sanctity which illuminates his soul, is all equally if he knows what he's doing or he doesn't know. It doesn't matter. Though a particular individual may not feel this sanctity, still, as explains earlier, this sanctity does not indeed illuminate his soul. This being the case, the soul of this individual is tainted by his misdeed in a manner equal to that of a tzaddik in similar circumstances. It is for this reason that the matter of punishment applies equally to all. Similarly, the transgression involving the slightest amount of leaven on Passover or the moving of a muktzah on Shabbat blemishes the sanctity which rests on the uncultured person's soul, just as it would be the sanctity of the soul of a tzaddik. Why? For we all have one Torah. The laws of the Torah apply equally to all. Did you understand that? I just want to finish the chapter. So I'm going to read this. It's going to take another extra minute or two, but I think it's valuable. From all the above, it becomes eminently clear that though a person may not feel the sanctity brought about by the performance of mitzvot, so much so that he is likened to a beast, nevertheless, through his performance of mitzvah, this beast is unified with God to the same degree as the greatest sage. Indeed, this is the implication of the verse, I was as a beast before you, yet I'm constantly with you. The Alter Rebbe now goes on to say, so again, the forefathers were connected to Sovev all the time. I connect to Sovev only when I perform a mitzvah. That's why we need to stand up before someone who performs a mitzvah. That's why we say kidshanu. Kidshanu means unified us with God and elevated us, and also separated us from the rest of the universe. The Alter Rebbe now goes on to say that there is a definite reason why the similarity to a beast is described in the plural. It was behemoth, not behemah. Behemoth literally beasts before you, not in plural. This tells us that the performance of a mitzvah and the level of a beast with neither comprehension nor feeling is related to the spiritual level which transcends comprehension and feelings. This level too being termed beast, since it is not in the realm of comprehension, rather it is transcending it. Thus, there are two levels of beast, that which is lower than the realm of comprehension and that which is above it. Both are alluded to by the same word, since the two are connected. Okay. Asaf, when he says that he's a beast, he does not say a singular beast but plural. Vani behemot haiti imach. What is behemot? He's not split into two people. He's not two entities. He's one entity. Why is he saying behemot? Why he says he's like beasts in plural? The Rebbe goes, there are several answers, but the Rebbe is explaining that you have two levels of removed from God. One, when you have no conscience or emotions attached to the mitzvah. You perform mitzvah like an animal compared to a human being. Then still, your neshama is connected to the sovev. But then there is another level, but it's still a beast, which is when you do have conscience, you know beforehand what you achieve. You know, you prepare yourself with contemplating and concentrating and meditating, and then you do the mitzvah with the heart and the soul and the mind. You are still a beast before God, because there is no relationship. Therefore, Asaf is saying, I am beasts before you. Either way, I serve God. When I keep kosher, when I celebrate Shabbat, one way celebrating Shabbat without not knowing what it achieves and why, I just do it by rote. Another way of knowing before, preparing properly, putting my heart and mind into it, both I'm a beast before God. Now you understand, Ali?
I'm not sure why we have to, what's the issue of the distinction?
Because it says plural. Why
No,
Asaf is referring?
I'm-
Because there are two types of beasts. There is a beast that's coarse, that perform a mitzvah without the head, the mindset, and the conscience involved.
The second one, the beast also?
With the mindset,
I see.
it's because compared to God, he's a beast. That's what he's saying. In other words, no matter how close I try to be, I'm still like an animal to a human. You understand now? Okay, let's finish. Don't run. And as for the use of the plural form beasts, which is inconsistent both with the singular form mentioned earlier, va'ani, not va'anachnu. I in a singular, and then the next word is behemot. Va'ani bar velo yeda. I am foolish and I know nothing. Behemot, hayiti imach. I am animals. I'm beasts in plural. It says va'ani, I'm talking about a singular. Says the Rebbe, and I am full. And with the singular form mentioned later, and I am constantly with you, it's in a singular. So the only word that's plural is behemot, is animals, is beasts. Says the Rebbe, this intimates that before him, even that Elyon, supernal knowledge, which comprises Chesed and Gevurah, that affects Chesed and Gevurah, that you have love and fear to God, is like beasts and a physical creation, that is, a physical world of Asiya, not its spiritual counterpart, when compared with the light of Ein Sof. Compared to the Ein Sof, we're all animals. As it is written, you made them all with wisdom, thereby comparing the level of Chokhmah, wisdom, and Asiya, made, and wisdom together, physical creation from God's perspective. Chokhmah and Asiya, wisdom and action, are equally distant from God. And this is called Behema Rabbah. In Jonah, when he prayed to God, it says Behema Rabbah, great beasts, great animals, meaning very smart, all full conscience. A great beast, denoting the level of beast which transcends understanding rather than that which lacks comprehension, as is explained elsewhere. And this is the level of the supernal name of Ban, one of the four variations of the Tetragrammaton, corresponding with the number of 52. Ban, Bet and Nun is 52, with the same numerical equivalent of the Hebrew word Behema, beast, which is on the level even preceding Atzilut. God has four names. Ma, 45 letters. Ban, 52 letters. Ein Bet, 72. And there is another one. I think 86, I think. Now, Behema, animal, beast. If you take all the letters, you come to Ban, to 52. Bet is 2, Hey is 5, Mem is 40, Hey is 5, you have 52. So you have great animal, great beast. What is great beast? A higher level of godliness, connected to godliness. Shem Ban. But, says Asaf, before God, Behemot aitimach, plural. We are all animals. There is no relationship, there is no connection between God and the human being. Either a human being that does do action without conscience, without understanding, even the one that has that level is a greater stature. He puts his mind into the serving of God. He's still an animal before God.
Why should he belittle himself? Why should we say you know,
No, the second half, but I'm still with you. In other words, I'm so grateful to you that no matter how far, and I really couldn't be farther from you, still, va'ani imach, tamid, I'm with you all the time whenever I perform the mitzvah. In other words, the distance between me and God is so far, there couldn't be anything farther. But yet when I perform a mitzvah, I'm sanctified, God, I'm betrothed to God, God separated me and elevated me. We thus see
Which is on a level even preceding.
we
us.
thus see that even one who performs mitzvot on the level of a fool or beast, neither comprehending nor sensing the unity and holiness achieved and drawn down through his action, even such a person too attains a union with the level of beast that transcends even the most lofty of levels, that of Atzilut, which is, in simple words, Sovev, the all-encompassing.
Da'at of the Atzilut?
What?
What is Da'at of the Atzilut?
That of Atzilut is Be'ima Rabbah, is the big beast, because that beast is Ban. It's a higher level. Meaning, all right, it's. Remember we said that is responsible for Chesed and Gvura as for emotions? Huh?
The Da'at is responsible, the Da'at is responsible.
Right, he's the one to awaken emotions, right? Chochma bin Adat, Adam yada et Chava. Adam knew Eve, the outcome was children. That is what brings it into reality. My emotions are awakened based on my.
Of God?
Yeah, it's in the heart. And it's awakened from that. And that's called Be'ima Rabbah, great animal, because it's Shem Ban, it's a higher level of Shem Mem He, with the 45 letters. You didn't understand, right?
God.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone. And next week we will re-summarize everything we study. We'll move on to the next chapter, which talked about exiting from Egypt done every single day. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.